While we cannot know the exact timing of most Bible prophecies, we can know the general time frame of what is ahead. On this program, I'll give you 3 trends to watch for in 2025 and beyond, straight from the pages of the Bible. Trend number 1, watch for a worldwide revival in counterfeit Christianity. Notice the beginning of this Olivet prophecy, Matthew 24 and verse 3. Now as he sat on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately, saying, "Tell us, when will these things be?" That is the destruction of the temple in Jerusalem. "And what will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the age?" Jesus then went on to give signs that would lead up to his return. Let's notice what follows, beginning in verses 4 and 5. "And Jesus answered and said to them, Take heed that no one deceives you. For many will come in my name, saying, I am the Christ, and will deceive many. And you will hear of wars and rumors of wars. For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there will be famines, pestilences, and earthquakes in various places. All these are the beginning of sorrows." The book of Revelation is also focused on the end of the age and lays out a framework of end-time events. There we read of a scroll sealed with 7 seals that, according to Revelation 5, verses 3 to 5, only the Lamb of God, that is Jesus Christ, can open. And no one in heaven or on the earth or under the earth was able to open the scroll or to look at it. So I wept much, because no one was found worthy to open and read the scroll, or to look at it. But one of the elders said to me, "Do not weep. Behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the Root of David, has prevailed to open the scroll and to loose its 7 seals." When he opened the first 4 seals, we find the famous 4 horsemen. The second, third, and fourth riders are easily discerned, and they match up with what Jesus revealed in the Olivet prophecy. They represent war, famine, and pestilence or disease epidemics. But what are the first? Let's read it in Revelation, the 6th chapter. "Now I saw when the Lamb opened one of the seals, and I heard one of the 4 living creatures saying with a voice like thunder, 'Come and see.' And I looked, and behold, a white horse. He who sat on it had a bow, and a crown was given to him, and he went out conquering and to conquer." Most commentaries say this rider represents Christ, or his followers conquering for Christ. They usually link this rider with the returning Christ that we read of in Revelation, the 19th chapter. "Now I saw heaven opened, and behold, a white horse, and he who sat on him was called Faithful and True. Now out of his mouth goes a sharp sword, that with it he should strike the nations. And he has on his robe and on his thigh a name written, King of Kings and Lord of Lords." But notice that the weapons wielded by these horsemen are different. The King of Kings has a figurative sharp sword coming out of his mouth, but the rider in chapter 6 has a bow in his hand. Why the difference? And what does that have to do with what is ahead for mankind in 2025 and beyond? Now notice the comparison between Revelation 6 and Matthew 24. In Revelation 6, we read of a rider on a white horse. But in Matthew 24, the first sign that Jesus gave is Christian deception. Revelation 6 speaks of a rider who takes peace from the earth. Matthew next talks about wars and rumors of war. Revelation 6, a rider on a black horse of famine. And Matthew 24 speaks of famines. In Revelation 6, the last rider is one on a pale horse of pestilence. Matthew 24 next speaks of pestilences. Now it should be obvious from this that the first rider in Revelation 6 is a counterfeit Christianity. And that is why our first trend to watch is the revival of a counterfeit Christianity that will take hold of much of the world. This great false prophet is spoken of in a number of scriptures, but notice this passage in Revelation, the 13th chapter, and verses 11 and 13. "Then I saw another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb and spoke like a dragon. He performs great signs, so that he even makes fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. A counterfeit Christianity is not new, but since the four horsemen reflect end-time events, look for a charismatic leader to perform deceptive miracles. He'll look like he represents Christ, but he will, in fact, represent Satan the devil. He will bring about a revival of apostate Christianity, not new in doctrine, but he will confuse the whole Christian world with enthusiasm, emotion, and deception. So our first trend to watch going forward is trend number 1, watch for a worldwide revival in counterfeit Christianity. Our second trend to watch is there will be continuing conflict in the Middle East that will lead to Christ's return. The prophet Zechariah speaks of the opposite of peace, foretelling our very time today when there would be a Jewish state in the area of Jerusalem, and they would be surrounded by hostile neighbors. Notice how remarkably accurate these prophecies are. Zechariah, the 12th chapter. Behold, I will make Jerusalem a cup of drunkenness to all the surrounding peoples when they lay siege against Judah, that is the Jews, and Jerusalem. And it shall happen in that day that I will make Jerusalem a very heavy stone for all peoples. All who would heave it away will surely be cut in pieces, though all nations of the earth are gathered against it. But how will the Jews fare with their enemies on every side? Here's another prophecy about the Jews in the book of Isaiah. The prophecy is addressed to Ariel, and while there is controversy over what the word means, virtually all scholars agree that it is a prophecy regarding the house of Judah, that is the Jews, and Jerusalem. The early fulfillment was during the time of Assyrian king Sennacherib, but there is clearly an end-time fulfillment. Note how the Jews' enemies anticipate victory only to wake up and realize that it's a dream. Isaiah 29, verses 7 and 8. The multitude of all the nations who fight against Ariel, even all who fight against her and her fortress, and distress her, shall be as a dream of a night vision. It shall even be as when a hungry man dreams, and look, he eats, but he awakes, and his soul is still empty. Or as when a thirsty man dreams, and look, he drinks, but he awakes, and indeed he is faint, and his soul still craves. So the multitude of all the nations shall be who fight against Mount Zion. Time and again, Israel's enemies see victory slip away from them. However, Zechariah reveals that there is a time in the future when the Jews will be overthrown and the Messiah, Jesus Christ, will have to come back and save them. We read of this in Zechariah, the 14th chapter, and verses 2 to 4. For I will gather all the nations to battle against Jerusalem. The city shall be taken, the houses rifled, and the women ravished. Half of the city, indicating it's a divided city, shall go into captivity, but the remnant of the people shall not be cut off from the city. Then the Lord will go forth and fight against those nations as he fights in the day of battle. And in that day his feet will stand on the Mount of Olives, which faces Jerusalem on the east. Our second trend to watch is there will be continuing conflict in the Middle East that will lead to Christ's return. Trend number 3 is watch for daily sacrifices to begin in Jerusalem. We find a countdown to the time of Christ's return in the 12th chapter of Daniel. The prophet wanted to know when the end would come and was told that the visions were sealed until the time of the end. He was then told this in verse 11. And from the time that the daily sacrifice is taken away and the abomination of desolation is set up, there shall be 1,290 days. That's 3 years and 7 months. For sacrifices to be cut off, they must first begin. And daily sacrifices have not been offered in Jerusalem for the better part of 2,000 years. Therefore, trend number 3 is watch for daily sacrifices to begin in Jerusalem. This will be a big deal once they begin, because when they are stopped, that will begin a countdown of 1,290 days before Christ steps in to save mankind from self-annihilation. So watch for these three trends in 2025 and beyond. Trend number one, watch for a worldwide revival in counterfeit Christianity. Trend number two, there will be continuing conflict in the Middle East that will lead to Christ's return. And trend number three, watch for daily sacrifices to begin in Jerusalem.